This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, okay. I would like to call this meeting of the Port Orford City Planning Commission to order. It's 3:31, Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. Roll call.
Here.
We're all here.
You're all here.
Mm-hmm.
Chair comments. I have no comments. Thank you all for being here, though. We'll say that. April 2nd minutes, which I don't have in front of me. Okay, thank you. Are there does everyone have a copy of the minutes? Are there any
Yes.
comments, corrections, additions, subtractions to the minutes?
Nope. Too bad. Never mind.
Yes, Commissioner Lovendall.
If someone is absent, wouldn't you write absent instead of abstain when there was a vote?
I have it as absent in the roll call and then abstain for the votes, because I would consider it the same. If the council or commissioners prefer, I can do absent instead of abstain.
That gives the
Yeah,
impression that I
abstain.
voted, I
They
abstained.
have to have a reason to abstain.
Okay.
That
You have-
passes the state laws.
If you abstain, you choose to not vote.
Okay. Whereas absent was just absent for the vote.
Right.
Got it.
You can abstain and be present.
Okay.
Okay.
No problem.
If there are no additions or corrections, I would entertain a motion to approve them.
With the correction of changing from abstain to absent.
All right.
Sorry.
I think that's just,
Semantics.
I don't think we need to do that.
I move to approve the minutes with the correction that Commissioner Lovendall was absent.
And Commissioner Burnt, I will second that.
Any discussion? Commissioner Lawton,
Yes.
Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Commissioner Lovendall,
Yes.
Commissioner Burnt,
Yes.
Commissioner Thielen is a yes. Minutes are approved. Public comments. Is there anyone online that would like to make a public comment? That is something on the agenda?
No one online.
No one online. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's move on to planning matters. Technical assistant grant from DLC Housing Implementation. Crystal?
Okay, in your packet, you have it has City of Port Orford at the top, and then it says City of Port Orford Planning Public Workshop Write-Up. And I thought we might go through this to start with, and then you can make marks by things that you want to come back to talk about. And also, we're going to talk about some of these things when we go through the papers from the different planners that have submitted comments about some issues that I thought we could be helped by looking at these.
What are the check marks that you made on some of these topics?
Would you use your
Well,
microphone,
When we get
please?
there, I will explain that because we don't get there for a while.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you for asking though, because you will have to know.
Pardon me, it's right here. Never mind.
So the first item here is ADUs. And these are just kind of train of thought things that came out from different people that, so each one represents something somebody said. Allows, size of lot is important. ADUs should not use the same hookups as a dwelling. Consider the number of ADUs, consider different types, et cetera. You can kind of read through them.
Commissioner Head, did you?
Yeah, I had a comment. I recall saying personally and other people saying that we should explore the ADUs using the same hookup as the dwelling to make it more affordable to build.
Okay, we don't have that on here, do we?
No, I don't. I see the opposite.
Say it again.
That we should
Consider.
explore ADUs using the same hookups as the dwelling to cut down on building costs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else that's missing that somebody recognizes? You will, maybe later. Okay, then we get to single room occupancy apartment, and you see the list of things that people talked about. And then on the next page, guest houses. We may want to put some rules on them. We may want to recognize them in the code so that there's a specific definition that says what constitutes a guest house. And then these are just comments from people.
Is that guest house, is that defined by state? Do
No,
they have a
It would
state?
be defined by how we want to define it, but normally it means something without I mean, when I say normally, often, I don't want to say what's normal for everybody, but often it says that you can't have a kitchen.
No kitchen, that's what I'm familiar
Yeah,
with.
so it's like, it's almost, like you might have your kids sleeping out there, or you might let your company sleep out there when they stay, but probably not full-time living out there.
But it doesn't mandate that there can't be some plumbing. So there could be a bathroom.
There could be, yeah.
Okay.
Just like in a bedroom would have a bathroom in your house.
I would think that we should have a name that is, and I don't know what the name would be, but be reflective of the fact that it's not a house.
Well, that's
To
what
me, a
guest house would, I mean, that's what a lot of them call it, guest house, but we can name it anything we want.
I hadn't seen the word guest house used in that context without a kitchen.
Right.
Okay.
Because one with a kitchen could be a vacation rental
Or
or
an
something.
ADU.
Yeah.
Something like guest quarters
Well,
instead of
again,
house?
So are you thinking just a different term than house, like dwelling?
that's all.
Yeah,
You-
maybe
when
I like
I
the
see here
quarters,
house,
like
I think dwelling.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's more of a bedroom, really, if you want to really look at it.
Yeah.
Because it's just a place where someone sleeps. Possibly it could be a studio. In our sense, it's not because we're thinking about housing, but studio like music studios, pottery studios, workshops are all that kind of building.
Right.
Like a carpentry shop. It's really an accessory. It's an accessory structure. It's really what technically I think it is.
Yeah,
Accessory
there
building.
would be no rule that said you couldn't have it. You would just define it so that when people talk about an accessory structure, they have different choices. A guest house would be a different thing than an ADU
Right,
or a guest quarters or whatever we call it.
right.
I don't have any.
It's more of a sleeping room.
Yeah.
But
I think that's kind of older language, a sleeping room.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
or a bedroom,
But yeah,
accessory bedroom.
right. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to
Yeah.
say, and I don't know that it just means anything, but
I don't know either. Okay, then we have
If you look it up,
comments.
this is the definition here.
Oh,
Joseph had a comment, I think.
Well, I'm curious because if we're defining, I don't want to say guest house because now we're questioning the term, but if it's defined by no kitchen, I'm curious what constitutes a kitchen. Like,
Oh,
is
that's
it-
interesting too.
kitchen is basically a stovetop and an oven.
Okay,
And a
so
sink.
No, a
No.
sink because you can have a laundry sink.
Mm-hmm.
In the bathroom sink.
So
Or even a bathroom. sink.
people who are people who bypass this rule
Mhm.
put in a microwave
and a mini fridge.
and a mini fridge and a laundry sink or just a sink. And then it's not, and they're saying it's not a kitchen, and the counties all approve that as a
Non-kitchen.
as a non-kitchen.
What did you say it was? Say it
Stove,
again.
stove and a fridge?
I'm sorry. Oh, no,
Fridge and,
no.
Oven.
A
Microwave?
kitchen is a stove, an oven.
No,
An
Oven
oven.
and a stovetop, like a built-in stovetop.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, that's the thing that, because people will put an addition on their house and have complete everything in it and be renting it out to another person. And if the inspector comes in and doesn't see an oven and a cooktop, they're good. And it's not a separate dwelling and they're not taxed on it and it's not an ADU. But if they do see those things, then it falls into the category of ADU.
So I think in this case, it's the word guest that more or less defines the space. If you
Well-
think about it that way, it's.
okay, we're not on this yet, so.
but-
Well, but you could have one of your children live there or, sleeping there.
Right, but
Or
it's,
Family
but
member.
guest sort of implies it's not a permanent,
Mhm.
kind of situation.
Like a
It's
long-term
more temporary.
resident or rental. Mm-hmm.
But it could be permanent. I mean, it could be your son.
I would definitely put my son in one of those.
But your son's not permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I mean.
Well, none of us are
some-
permanent.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on. I think sorry I brought it up.
That's okay. This is good. I write down what I hear. So, okay. Some thoughts about manufactured homes. There seemed to be a lot of discussion of this. I still have to look up park model and learn more about that. I also have to look up, they're talking about, what, we have them in our code. They're not called modular homes. They're called,
Manufactured homes.
no, there's another one, prefab homes.
Oh, prefab.
I have to look that one up and see.
Prefab is constructed all in one piece and brought to the site.
I don't know for sure exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I
Instead of
think it has something to do with that.
manufactured homes are like,
But the people at the meeting, the builder, one builder at least, was saying that we don't have, even though Oregon law puts prefab homes in there with manufactured homes and mobile homes in the same park, they can all go in the same park, that most people don't do the prefab homes because they go on a foundation.
mm-hmm. Right.
But
Oh, and the manufactured homes. No,
They
they
do
can be
too,
on a
don't they?
They
foundation as
also
well.
do too.
Yeah.
so,
I can't remember. There was
I think that's all interesting that they put them all in the same
yeah,
thing.
there was a distinction, but I can't quite remember what it was. Yeah.
Prefab put together on site.
Put together on site,
Yeah.
like a kit.
You know, like a Lindell home, and all the pieces come in, the
Mhm.
trusses and stuff. And then
Isn't that modular? Wouldn't you call that modular?
Yeah, I was wondering if they were the same.
So I guess we need to work on
I
definitions.
think that's a prefab.
Well, we have to know what we want, and I don't think that just because the state law puts them all in the same category, people don't have to do them all together.
Right.
They can do one, they could call it one thing.
I think we should just, for our own purposes, clarify, come up with some clear definitions for these different
I think
types.
there are definitions in the state
Yeah.
law, and I think I've already maybe looked them up and have them, but I don't
agree.
have.
Maybe a list.
I think it's important
A list,
to be
yeah.
clear
Mm-hmm.
on what we're discussing,
Yeah,
so everybody's on
on the same
the
page.
same
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we talked about this a couple months ago, so it's been a bit, so I might be misremembering, but I think the last time we talked about it, we discovered prefabricated structure, if it was used for a dwelling, was designated as a manufactured home.
Yeah, I mean, they're all in the same thing in the state law.
You're saying a prefab structure as a house versus a shed or something,
Yeah,
or some other kind of accessory building.
so it could be prefabricated, but it would be considered a manufactured home, whereas if it was a different kind of prefabricated structure. It was just classified as a prefabricated structure.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going off my memory, so if that sounds familiar to the rest of the commissioners, then that's, yes.
There's prefab versus module.
Okay.
Okay.
Prefab is a general term used, this is from,
Can you use your
Contract.
microphone a little bit, please?
is a general term used for prefabricated building or building component that is manufactured in a factory prior to its final assembly at the construction site, whereas a modular refers to something built or organized in self-contained units, like building
Okay.
blocks. So you have modules. That makes
Hmm.
sense.
Cool, thank you.
That's,
All right. Thank you for looking.
Okay.
That up.
All of this stuff is easy to like get
Yeah,
in your head and lose it.
The fine line between, yeah.
Okay, planned unit development, we've talked about that several times. And then they said that Gold Beach has done exactly what we've talked about doing, changing our planned unit development code. And I kind of got the idea first from them because I knew they were doing it a few years ago. And I thought that's what we should do because our planned unit development code I don't think it's ever been used in all these years. And I think that was the same thing in Gold Beach. And so because they were required to have 3 acres and things like that. And that's quite a large piece for a city, small city.
And so the one at 24/25 Arizona, that's the cottage something or another?
This is, well, I think these
Is that the
are
one here?
kind of
in-
cottage developments. Well, I don't know. I mean, the way it sounded was he was talking about Gold Beach, but 2425 Arizona sounds like here, doesn't
The
it?
24th, 25th Street, is that what that
don't
is?
know.
Like an intersection?
Well,
We'll have to
yeah,
check.
that's not real clear, but
Arizona?
I know there is
Mhm.
a development on Arizona and Paradise Point.
So that's probably
And it's
it.
called, I think it's called Cedar Point.
It is.
Cedar Point, and it's
Yes.
subsidized, isn't it?
It's low-income housing and it's
Yeah,
got
and
small units. It's a
I'm
little
guessing they're like
community
7.
building.
You said on Paradise or on Arizona?
Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Arizona?
Uh-huh.
On
Yeah.
the right as you're going north.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They've got a really long waiting list, I've heard.
Yeah, and they have common areas.
Mhm.
Somebody could take a picture from the street of some
Yeah.
of these if you,
Yeah.
because we could probably use those. I mean, not somebody's dwelling, but if it's a bunch of dwellings.
Right.
I mean, I don't think we should take a picture of somebody's dwelling and have them
Okay.
come here and see it, but
So question, if they managed to do that, how did they manage to do that if it's not, they're not in commercial, I don't think.
yeah, I don't know. I wasn't aware of it, but they might be, have them connected like a, multi-unit thing or something. I don't know if they're connected somehow or not.
They look like
Are they
They're
look
individual
separate.
units.
Yeah.
Huh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But it's, yeah, definitely worth looking into.
I mean, it doesn't sound bad, but it sounds like it may not be something that
Yeah,
we have done
It's a
before.
really nice, small development and it seems like it's managed really well.
So the ones in Gold Beach are on Harbor Way. I don't know if anyone's seen those.
Yeah, they're just
I'm
right
looking
by
at
the
a
post office.
satellite view of them right now.
So they're like little cabins.
They're like little cabins, and I think one is larger, but they're in a row. But I believe that's commercial property also.
Mhm.
So
It's
is
right off
this
the highway.
one, this Arizona 2425 Arizona, could that be one that Guy Vernon did?
Guys,
No, it's been around for a long time, for
Yeah.
over
Oh.
20 years.
Oh,
It's-
okay, well then,
Guy's place
Oregon-
is closer to.
So I found
20th.
pictures. It's Oregon CPD projects in Oregon. So, yeah, here's Cedar Point. Here's pictures of it right here.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where's that? Bend?
No, it's here
Here.
in town.
So they must, so
It's on
are they all on
Arizona.
one lot?
It's bigger than a lot.
The one we divided on Arizona?
Maybe 2 or 3.
That was Idaho.
Yeah,
But she's saying they were there, they've been there.
Yeah, this has been there for a
So
while.
it's listed under the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
It's a HUD.
So HUD, right?
So maybe they
Yeah.
got to skirt some rules.
Okay, well, that is.
Anyway, it
what
sounds
is.
fine.
Uh, But planned unit development is certainly what we are,
Pursuing.
have our
yes,
eye on.
Yeah. I mean, I think it will work for us
Well,
to be able to
mm-hmm.
do some of this stuff. Okay, affordable housing. So the issue was brought up, I don't think it's on here, but somebody was saying at 30% of, yeah, there it is. Federal affordable housing has 30% of income requirement. So they,
I noticed in the documents you provided, there is a definition
yeah, so.
in
maybe
House
we'll
Bill
find it.
2984.
Oh, okay.
There's a good definition of affordable housing.
Okay, we'll get there pretty soon. Okay, so then, I mean, we're just kind of going through this fast and there are things we're going to think about. Okay, so then, the next page, we have the House bill. So that's probably the one that somebody was talking about in here. And then alternative housing and living options. This has a check mark because these, I think now we're, let's see. Well, the check marks are where more than one person have said those things.
Mm-hmm.
So first we had the thing and then we started hearing more from individuals. And so every time there's a check mark, it means we heard about it again when we were talking about this. Then when you get down to main interests expressed by participants, this was when you guys filled out the little, and thank you all for coming. It was great to have the leadership from this planning commission there. I think you were all there. Yeah. So this was some of the stuff expressed by participants, and they kind of, as you can see, a lot of people said workforce housing because that kind of stood out when people were talking. And then you get to the next page and you know, people like this name, cluster cottages. It sounds cute.
Mm-hmm.
So people always say they want cluster cottages and they must, I think they have an image. And I think that is a good thing that we could include and
Yeah.
that would be part of the planned unit development.
It gives a sense of community when you
Yeah.
have it. It's like the ones on Arizona.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
a group of small
Except,
houses.
I don't know, see, the thing that we're going to have to worry about or address probably is the word, has to do with roads and streets. Because you still have to have somebody maintain those. Now, I suppose HUD has some system where they can take care of it. But the average person who buys a little house doesn't want to pay a fee for common areas and stuff like that. It kind of takes it out of being affordable. So it might come to, well, do you want to have some really small lots, like a subdivision made out of a planned unit development, kind of a planned unit development by its very description means that it's all one thing and that somebody owns it and is taking care of it, whether it's the property owners or one individual, and then they're for rent. So those are some things we kind of have to keep in mind and find a way to address them. It's not that we really care. We just want them to be kept up. I mean, most of us don't care whether one person owns it or a bunch of people own it, if it's a nice place.
Or if it's a project of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban
Correct.
Development.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like the only way to do that affordably now is to have it be subsidized.
It does kind
Yeah.
of seem like that. Yeah. I don't know.
I've noticed a couple of mentions about workforce housing. I think that requires some kind of definition as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I don't know. I don't know how we define workforce housing. Everybody talks about it, but nobody has exactly the same idea about it.
Yeah.
But I think they just mean housing that the average person who's working can afford.
Right. I mean, that information is easily accessible from census data, and then if you use the calculation that to be affordable, it has to be 30% of whatever the median income or something is for this area. There you go.
And it's going to
Yeah.
cut out a lot of the,
Mary made that distinction, the mayor Bandon, that it was not subsidized.
Yeah, it wasn't for people that don't qualify for subsidized housing.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is if you've ever lived in a place where there's a lot of transient migrant workers, then there are shacks that, they provide that, it's like working on a plantation almost.
Mm.
So I think we have to be careful about something like that we don't end up in.
I think our building codes probably
Yeah.
take care of that in Oregon, but I don't know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose that if you already had them and nobody's complaining, and people that are working live there for a while, nobody's gonna complain because everybody wants to have a house to live in.
I think workforce housing is an umbrella term that could include a lot of the other things that we're already talking about, like ADUs, and it's more about affordability, I think, than it is a specific type of
Yeah, I
dwelling.
guess That's
Yeah.
a good point.
I think it's more of a
Yeah, and as
colloquialism that just sort of is a general definition.
It sounds good.
I think as long as the codes that are, the structures are compliant with codes, that's really where what it comes down to.
Mhm.
Well, we are certainly not going to be promoting anything that's not, code compliant, for sure.
And then we get down to main concerns expressed, and of course, we can do all of this, and if we can't get our water up to speed, we've got problems anyway. So this just gives us an idea and things that if you want to research them a little more and share with us when we get to those, I think that's great.
I don't remember what the reference was for graduated living allowance.
Where's
Yeah,
that
I
one?
don't either.
Under the
page are
main
you on?
concerns,
Main
second one.
concerns, page 5. It's the second bullet.
That
Under
they're
main
talking about, well, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think they were talking about it's not quite worded right for what I was going to say.
Were they talking about providing some kind of subsidy based on your income? So if you're.
Yeah,
you get
and that's
more-
nothing
Like a
that we're going to
sliding
have
scale,
anything to do
sliding
with.
scale, yeah.
So, I mean, I put it in there, but yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. That's what it was. And I was thinking like, I'm not going to tell them that's not us. I'm just going to put it down.
Mhm.
We can do what we can do, and
Yeah.
everything else is another area of interest.
So, page 6. Do we have too many RV parks? We don't have very many RV parks, do we?
Well, some of them are outside the city, like the ones on the loop. Are they even in the city limits?
Probably not.
There's two. I
can
think there's
of
at least two out there.
3.
Oh, there's one over by Coast Guard Hill,
And then
and then there's the one by Salties, and then the new one that might be a thing that
And
we.
he
another
just
one.
called me today, and he's called Joseph a couple times, and he's working on it.
I
Okay.
saw their,
He had a thing that was sad to him. He said he had a nice guy living there that had always paid his rent and everything, and that he was a really good guy, and he had to evict him to be able to start doing this. And
Hmm.
But he said he thinks that he found a solution. He's going to go to California and live maybe in a guest house or something with his daughter.
Oh,
So we have-
But that's what happens, you know, you start fixing something up and then something else happens and somebody gets evicted that was doing fine.
mm-hmm. Mm.
Okay, so we have a bunch of people saying increased density, but then we had some other people saying no. So, you know, that'll be up to you guys.
Increased density, how? Where, like, in what?
Well, that would be making the lots smaller or something.
Oh, making the lot smaller, yeah. Or more housing per
More
lot.
More housing
ADUs.
per lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be zone,
One
high
comment
zone.
that someone made at the meeting was that, and I've heard this term before, that apartments don't pencil in because they can't be 3 stories high.
Mhm.
And so I did some research onto that, and I've a builder myself. In my past life, I've built before. I built a house and remodeled a couple. And so I actually drew up a 3-story apartment, 24 feet wide by as long as you want it to be, that is 30 feet 6 inches. So in our commercial zone, we have a 35-foot height limit, and that would be with a gable roof. So there's ample space in our commercial zone for a 3-story apartment
There's a
dwellings.
building going up right now on Fifth and Titchener that's 3 stories. I think they dug out a little bit for the first level,
Mhm.
which is probably garage.
So-
But yeah,
Is that going to be a 3-story?
That's for the tandem U.
I see they put on here no minimum lot size, and we do a lot of places. We have a lot of flexibility with lot size in our towns
Mhm.
that other people don't have. And then I was reading a national planners thing today talking about cities that they should be, isn't a very big, but still, you know, hardly any businesses left. And they're beautiful buildings if they were kept up. They're not all kept up. But they're saying that people, you know, cities need to change their codes to allow people to live on the first story. And they haven't done that yet. I don't think Coos Bay has done it. And it's like, there's always the hope that if they have the people, it generates enough business that you can afford to have the lowest level be commercial. But the gist of this was that doesn't work because every person only generates 7 square feet or something of commercial. So or I don't know if it was every living unit or what, but anyway, it didn't really pertain to you, so I didn't bring it because you guys don't necessarily have those old kind of big buildings, but it certainly would pertain in Coos Bay. And I don't know that they've changed it yet, but you guys already are pretty flexible in your commercial. You allow commercial, you allow residential. And I think that's good for Port Orford.
there are some existing structures like on the right across from Crazy Norwegian. There's an apartment building, and I think now it has commercial on the ground level with apartments above. But in the past, people have lived down below as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And our code wouldn't stop that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the end of that. And then Oregon Planners Network is somebody, you know, every day somebody writes in around the state. They say, what do you do about this? And sometimes I write in and sometimes other people write in and I might respond. I usually am pretty short because some people like to go on and on. They're obviously being paid by somebody else because I don't know how they have time to do that and do their work too. But anyway, so we got some really good ideas. And I X'd some of them and I thought we might want to go through these.
Yes,
Yes, so
they're good.
go for it. So the first one, do you want to read it?
Yeah, we recently received a proposal to place 4 tiny homes on one 5,250 square feet lot. Unfortunately, our increasingly antiquated code doesn't include a definition for tiny.
I'm sorry, Greg, I can't really hear you, and where are we, on what page?
Oh, I'm sorry, we are on
On
page
page
1.
Oregon Planners Network document, right here.
It
top.
starts at the top, good afternoon, OPN.
Thank you.
They're basically just saying that they don't have anything in their code to deal with tiny homes.
I also noted that everybody says that they have an antiquated code.
Yeah, that's basically all they're saying in
That's what
that.
people say all over the state.
No point in reading.
I think things are evolving faster than the codes are changing.
So it's really clear we need to deal with tiny homes. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things we need to deal with is and even, well, we'll see about sprinklers in small buildings.
Yeah.
is another
So
one.
then we don't have anything more on that page really until you get down to the next page, page 2. And yeah, well, this has to do with using their PUD for the kind of things we were talking about.
They're saying a PUD for a tiny house community should be drafted assuming that conditions will change in the future and avoid locking in an overly specific development plan. We want to be flexible with what we do. It says, for example, we may not be wise to require a community building of a certain size or a park or storage area of a specific design or specific location because those items may need to be moved or resized in the future. Similarly, if the homeowners association is responsible for roads and utilities, it may be wise to offer some flexibility to relocate or resize those facilities in the future.
I thought this was interesting because they're talking about subdivisions in a planned unit development type cluster housing too, that you can do it with everybody on a different lot.
At the bottom of the next page, it talks about McMinnville and the tiny home code. And they're saying that their development standards, minimum lot size, and setbacks aren't proportional to tiny homes. So it's kind of ridiculous. Well, to buy a $40,000 piece of property or an $80,000 piece of property and put a 200-foot, put a tiny home on it, although maybe somebody wants to, but maybe a lot of people don't.
And what I got from all these was at the time these were written, and they are a couple years old though, but most people haven't figured out at this time. I was thinking of doing another call out to see if anybody has figured out how to do tiny homes, but it may not be that necessary that we do it. I mean, I did also find out by reading these that I'm right about the size, that the building codes goes down to 400 square feet. And then after that, we would have to have our own system if we have tiny homes or something.
In our code, it's 400 square feet.
No, that's what the county building
County.
codes permit.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just reading this comment. Why not eliminate all minimum size requirements per dwelling? I don't see the rationale for having a limit in the first place.
Right. And that's what he's saying here.
Yeah.
Why not?
What is the point?
The building code allows dwellings
You're
that
on
are
page 4,
significantly
right?
smaller.
Page 4, yeah.
Building code allows dwellings that are significantly smaller than the minimum found in many zoning codes. So for example, ours is 1,000 feet for a manufactured home.
And there were a bunch like that too in
Yeah.
here.
So
Yeah.
that's common. So we're fixing that.
Mm-hmm.
It does make the case for, someone if they're comfortable living in a smaller space,
Mhm.
why,
Why not?
But
Yeah.
we would have to come up with
do that?
Yeah.
rules that would satisfy building codes. And I don't know quite how to do that.
I know with, for example, with yurts, the issue isn't the size, it's the,
Foundation, isn't it?
well, and no, it's the insulation. It's the ability to insulate it enough to meet, energy yeah, that has to be a minimum amount of insulation for green building codes so that, they're not wasting energy trying to heat a space that isn't properly insulated.
Well, Pacific Yurts, I know, has designed theirs and has insulation values that evidently meet those standards according to them.
Yeah, I don't know. I know I lived on a property in Bannon where this is Coos County, they were constantly harassing the owner about a yurt that she put up saying that it absolutely could not be permitted because of the insulation issue.
And there's others that can't be permitted on certain places because they don't have a foundation.
Right. Yeah, we built a foundation for it and the deck.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that's not true of every yurt.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think, but I think that needs to evolve as well. Yeah, balancing the needs of affordable housing versus, forcing people to have like a certain amount of a standard of insulation.
Right.
Some people, have wood heat, they live colder, like it can be up to them.
That's true, and we still have our state building codes to deal with. That we can't change.
Right.
Anything the state says we can't, we
Right.
have to follow.
But yeah, it's something that we can look into.
And I don't really know at this point how to write a code for tiny homes,
Mm-hmm.
even in a cluster or something like that, below 400 square feet.
Why would that be more?
Because the building codes have to approve them.
Oh,
And they
so you're
only go
saying the
down-
county minimum is 400, so
Well, the state minimum,
the state minimum.
yeah.
Hmm.
But I know that jurisdictions do it somehow, but I haven't, in this stuff, I didn't see anything that explained how they do
Do
that.
they leave
They're
them
just
on-
saying they have to work on it.
Do you think that they get around it by having them leave them on trailers? There's
I was
on
wondering about
trailers
that.
Versus
Yeah.
See a lot of those.
then a
Yeah.
foundation. So
Yeah.
one is
You-
temporary or transferable, the
Yeah.
other one is
So that's a question whether, requiring them to be on wheels could put them in a classification almost like an RV.
Right. It would still need a foundation. Like, I mean, it would still need block support,
Right.
to take the pressure off the
Right.
wheels, but
So I don't
I've
know.
seen them on.
Isn't the maximum square footage, or- yeah, requiring a permit? I'm sorry, the minimum
200.
200. Okay,
It include, or anything with plumbing
okay,
or electrical.
okay. So, yeah, I'm just wondering how that maybe comes into play here. I mean, somebody could potentially build several 200 square foot structures and use one as a bedroom, one as a kitchen, and not get into codes or permits or anything else.
So the county code, just an interesting, because I've looked into this, the county code requires 50 feet between accessory buildings.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah,
50
Nice.
feet.
yeah, that's a critical piece.
On the next page,
What page?
on page 5, there's don't forget the recent changes the governor, did the governor sign it? The governor did sign it. Senate Bill 458. Are you familiar with that, Crystal? Because when I went down, so about last month, I went down to and did a training with Huey Radomski and some of the other planners in the county, and Brookings and Gold Beach, and they were talking about Senate Bill 458, middle housing.
Well, Senate Bill 458 I'm not sure. I mean, I don't want to say it's that, but there is expedited
Yeah.
housing is what John was suggesting when he was the interim city manager.
Uh-huh.
And we probably have to include that in our code because, well, I don't know if we do because we're smaller than,
I was
then a lot of
wondering,
this stuff doesn't apply.
I was wondering if it was mandatory for everyone or just cities over.
Yeah,
so many-
and they didn't used to divide that up. So it used to be, it was mandatory, but they let us do some codes in other towns without it because these little tiny cities don't have a way to expedite something that fast. They're talking about people looking at everything in a day, in a few, like 14 days, you go through the whole thing.
Hmm.
And I don't even know how we would do that, but we can put it in our code and discourage it.
Well, what I was
We have to.
wondering if there isn't some code there that we could use, that we could, that we could adopt. I know that the state mandates ADUs for towns that are larger than what, 5,000 or whatever it is, 10,000, but we can still use their information
Yes.
to help
Yeah,
us
there's
write our
nothing wrong with
codes.
it.
That's what I'm thinking is if we can borrow as much code as we can,
Correct.
that 458 might be a good one. And I wasn't
should
sure what
look
the
at
number
it,
was,
but
but
I-
I want to
but-
get it. I'm going to
But
look
this
at it.
whole thing about the expedited land division, there's a reason why we haven't done them because we can't work that fast and you guys would never get to see the applications. You have somebody in an office. It's almost like you just
Oh,
have a specialist sitting there and making those decisions.
Seems like that could get out of hand. I mean,
Well, I think it would
could.
especially in the
Yeah.
small cities when you
Being
don't
conservative.
have somebody that's hired that knows all the building codes and all that stuff.
right. But we have to balance, that kind of like subdividing lots and creating, changing the minimum size of lots with the infrastructure issues that we're having, so we can't just willy-nilly like subdivide every lot in half and create all these extra opportunities for new homes.
No, that would be a big step.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to be.
So,
Okay.
yeah, that's
So,
what you're saying, looking into
yes,
what
I think it's worth
bigger
looking.
cities do. I mean, we have to see that. We have to know it. We have to understand what the options are.
I'll look into that myself too.
The hardest part is you get this whole law, like you'll see one in there that they just adopted. And you start looking at it and you can't really tell which parts are for the 10,000 size cities and which parts apply to everyone. And I've had that problem before. And it's like, I feel bad for the little cities because they're falling behind. But they're not they're not requiring them to do anything. And so this is the first money we've gotten for housing. Well, the bigger cities have been getting money all along to get their codes up to date. So it's become an uneven ground.
Mhm.
And we're probably lucky we don't have to do all this. But on the other hand, sometimes we want to do something.
I have a question. Guy Vernon's property on Arizona, where it seemed like it was one property and it got divided into three and there was a flag, what do they call it? A flagpole?
Flag lot.
Flag lot. And how did that happen?
We did that here.
We did that.
I wasn't,
No,
no.
this is in residential.
No, this was a different,
Oh, no, that's Idaho.
that's the one behind the RV park.
Yeah.
It's near the lake.
Oh, the one
Oh,
on the
he
corner.
did that about 3 or 4 years ago.
So that flag lot is so
Oh, you
small
can do that.
in the back. How did that, and then the one in the front is so small, and then
It's
his
50
lot
feet.
has more
Should
space.
be 50 feet.
50 feet? Hmm.
So there
They might not
was-
have built the road to 50 feet. It's a driveway, so they don't have to make it up to the code.
Oh, I think because there's wetland in the back, so
Yeah,
that
there's nobody, a
probably counts in the,
flag lot can only serve one.
right, yeah, no, it's the one in the back. It's like, there's a small footprint for a building, but there must be wetland
There are
behind
wetlands
that
in back.
makes it
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
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 I
In
live on
fact, they had to draw a line. where
Yeah.
that was.
I live on a double flag lot. There's one road serves two.
Hmm.
It's a 20-foot easement and then a
Okay.
properties are in the
I
back.
Behind
think
your
that
house?
was in 2020 that he-
Yeah, I was just thinking that the lot in the back seemed really small, but it must be because there's wetland behind it. That's included in the square
They-
footage of
yeah,
the lot.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
smart.
So
Mhm.
he Guy is very smart about how he
Yeah.
builds his, he has a good eye for
Mhm.
how to use a lot.
Yeah, how to squeeze the maximum number of dwellings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So moving on, page 6 is about condominiums, and they're just saying we need to look at that, which, and it's continued on page 7 is where
The thing about condominiums is there's so many state laws that we just would have to allow them and let the state law tell them what to
Right.
do because there's already a whole code for it in the state.
So it says the condominium plat is another way to create home ownership opportunities without dividing the land. Since cottage cluster developments typically have some common open space or even shared buildings, parking and other facilities, there's already a need to create an owners association or other body and to record covenants and operating agreements similar to a conventional condominium development. So,
But I don't think most people down here want to go through that state. I mean, unless they could make it pan out money-wise, because a condominium has a whole lot of steps. I mean, it's not only about the land and the ownership, it's about how you write your agreements. It's about all kinds of stuff that I don't think that's going to end up being an affordable house.
Isn't that usually done by the developer?
and the developer owns the land,
Right.
maybe?
And sets up all the guidelines for
With the state.
how the homeowner association gets
Mhm.
put together and who pays what. Yeah.
Sounds like an expensive proposition
is,
for a
I
view
think.
property for high
Yeah,
roller.
I think it
It
is.
does, unless there are developers that approach.
Know how to do it
Differently.
and have done it before, because condos actually in California and Nevada occupy kind of middle of the range housing costs. So if you can't afford a house, oftentimes you get a condo, and that could be a stepping stone, but also it could be a permanent house for people. The only issue in condos typically, and all condos different, is the increased HOA funds. So
For building
that's
maintenance.
kind of, kind of
Yeah.
like taxes.
It's not a
that
fixed
It's not,
rate.
it's
No.
not a fixed, at least not for long.
My mother lives in a condo, and you know, when they decide that the roof needs to be replaced, they all have to pay
Yeah.
thousands of dollars, and it's completely
It
random.
doesn't seem like affordable housing.
Yeah, they can't plan for it because, you know, they have no idea when the building is gonna expire in certain areas, and so it's happened several times. They're redoing the roof right now. It's just like, you know, we have to do this. You owe us $3,000.
So
Well, if
again,
it's
a
done right,
situation-
though, the HOA fees should go up incrementally. There should be a reserve that's big enough to cover those things. And usually in a good HOA association, they'll plan for that in advance. They'll calculate through their audits, through their auditors, and bookkeeping, what that cost will be down the road. Because we have a condo, and we've had condos in the past. And I've been a part of a bad one and a part of a good one, which we're in now. And if they're run well, they're affordable and they're well maintained. But a lot of that has to do with
Also,
the board.
the size of the building too. I mean, my
Yeah.
mother's building is giant. There's no way that they could keep that much money in their funds. Yeah.
So do you live in one here?
No, we have one in Nevada.
Well, you
But
might be our expert.
Condominium expert.
Yeah.
yeah, we've had it in California too. And like you say, when that was mismanaged, they had to charge, it was like $20,000 for a roof on the individual units. it was mismanaged. They didn't put enough in reserves. That's unfortunately how we got the condo, because it went into foreclosure. They couldn't afford it. But then we got a good board in, and the board set the reserve such that it was enough to do, first was roofs, and then it was painting the condos. And so by
But
the time we
HOA
got in,
fees
it was
can
good.
be so high. I mean, close to $1,000 a month on top of a mortgage,
For
you know.
hers,
My mother's is like $500 or $600 a month, I think.
yeah, it
Yeah.
can be that high. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And if you're paying a mortgage at the same time, you know.
And I
Yeah.
think some places, like in Washington, because I have a place in Washington, that they changed from condominium to, they had patio homes to townhomes, so that each individual was responsible for their roof. That's the way they got around it, just changing the designation formally.
But who owns the land that it's on? Like, is there a difference between a
developer.
townhome and a condo in terms of the land that they're built on?
The association owns it.
We pay the taxes on it, on the land, on the sewer, on the
Okay.
water, on everything.
So you
So we own that
own
little.
all of it?
That little. piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. But a condo,
No, my mother doesn't own any
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
land.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's common ground
Mm-hmm.
on it and that. But when you think about it, homeowners have to maintain their homes too. We shell out thousands of dollars to paint, to put a new roof on, to do all that kind of maintenance. Normally you would do. What this does is it gets a person in a condo at less than they would have to pay for a house. But then in increments through their HOA fees, they're able to pay for their roof. They're able to pay for painting it. They're able to pay for repairs. And then the insurance for it. The insurance on most of them cover everything on the exterior. So if it burns down, they completely rebuild it. And with the only expense you're responsible for is the inside of the condo. And that varies a little bit. Sometimes it includes cabinets and such, sometimes it doesn't. But there's a lot of variables, but my experience has been that they can represent affordable housing for people, that kind of in-between gap.
Sounds like it's a possibility, but it sounds tricky and unpredictable.
Yeah.
And are any of those in Oregon?
No,
I would like to maybe, since you know, have you look at the Oregon condominium law. I think it's ORS 100. I can send it to you.
yes.
Because I would just like to see if it's more, I mean, I've never seen an affordable condominium in Oregon, but that doesn't mean I've seen all of Oregon. So, but I just wondered if our requirements for condominiums were different. And you could probably tell by looking at it.
Interesting to talk to a builder, the contractors who build these, if they quit after the first condo.
Yeah, and we don't have any here that I know of. I
No, I
mean,
don't think
we
so.
have some people that are sort of doing it, I think.
It
but-
seems to me like the builders around here they want to turn loose of they want to build and then turn loose of it.
Right.
And I think that's the big problem with, builders have told me that's the big problem with rentals too, is that, who's going to manage it?
Oh, well, the contractor lets go of it after, and I'm not sure exactly how long that is. It's not very long. The contractor holds on to it for a year or 2 years, and then it's turned over
So the it's turned over.
to the condo association.
Yeah, well, yeah,
But those things are also tricky
yeah.
because if nobody's watching them, they have problems. Just like community water systems and everything, they always want the city to take them on in about 10 years. Because,
Yeah.
and the same with joint roads, unless you're in a kind of an urban atmosphere where people are used to this, people don't seem to understand what's going to be required.
Yeah, like anything else, it all depends on the management, which is the HOA. And if the HOA board is not on top of it and not knowledgeable, yes, it can be mismanaged.
Something to think about.
Okay, so I want to move on.
So you want me
from
to
the
send you that?
condos.
Yeah.
So you guys get together or send Commissioner Lawton the information and maybe we can get some more, see how feasible it is to adopt something. On page 8, it talks about building code requiring fire suppression on structures less than 400 square feet. And yeah, and how tricky that can be to approve a dwelling and then have it come back and say, well, sorry, you've got to have a fire suppression in there. At the bottom, it's interesting. It just reiterates what is similar to us that I'm learning about and what we're seeing. Talks about the different zones. The single family zone restricted to 2 or fewer dwellings and by lot coverage and setbacks, which we have. Well, we don't yet, but with ADUs, we would have 2. Medium density zone would be restricted to 4 or fewer dwellings and lot cover setbacks, which we do not have, but it's a possibility, I guess. Apartment and neighborhood commercial zones are not restricted by units, but are by lot coverage reduced setbacks, which I believe we have lot coverage in our commercial zone. Or do we? I'm not sure if we do.
We're pretty loose in our commercial
Okay,
zone,
so that's an issue though.
and we don't have setbacks.
Yeah, there's no setbacks.
Maybe the front only? No?
Even in the 10 MU.
Not in the front?
Didn't they make a 5-foot, didn't you make a 5-foot setback in the 10 MU?
I
Because there
don't
was no,
remember. I got the code here.
I think you're right. Yeah.
There is no side
I think
setback.
there's something.
That's true.
Yeah.
Front and back.
Side or back.
Hmm.
I don't think the back.
You want them in front, commercial building to be as close to the front as you.
Well, the condos being built next to the Porterford, the OSU field station, like right
against it.
on top of it. Yeah.
And then mixed
Oh, are they
use.
condos?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a mystery what's happening over there.
Mixed use, interestingly, is restricted by a unit minimum. In other words, you can't have just one unit on a lot without another use. So you could have like for an accessory dwelling or an accessory
like it.
building.
Mhm.
Would that be?
I don't know, it could be, it's a commercial use and, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, well, we have 10 MU. We have a mixed use, but I'm not sure it's this.
Yeah.
And then general commercial zones,
This one's from Klamath Falls, so they're bigger.
not restricted.
When we were doing the STR ordinance, I was looking into zoning in Portland, and they did create a higher density residential zone that has different, maybe this was during building heights. Maybe it was during building heights, different building height limits and different density allowances. I think it was maybe their version of maybe R2 or R3.
Yes, in fact, on Division Street, just past Cesar Chavez, there's a whole little complex of tiny homes in there.
It's probably that
So it's
new residential, high density.
path breaking or a path making.
they also did shotgun homes. Portland did. They sort
What's
of
a
did.
shotgun?
Shotgun homes when you have a really narrow lot and have them in Louisiana.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of those.
Yeah, and
So
so it's
page
like they
9,
try,
huh?
they're
Okay, so page 9.
Row houses.
At the bottom,
Right.
Page 9.
I'm trying to understand on page 8 why a loft would necessitate or would dictate a rule for a sprinkler
Where
system,
does it say that?
fire
yeah, they
suppression.
did have that in there. I wonder if it's because it doesn't have an
Klamath Falls.
Ingress, egress?
egress.
yes, it's because you can't, it addresses that later on here. It says it's because you can't go to another room. You have to leave the building.
Okay, but there are homes with lofts.
Well, I don't
So
know
you'd
about,
have to.
I don't know about lofts. Does it say that lofts have to have?
Yeah,
Where does it say that?
specifically.
Because
says
lofts are a
loft.
fire trap. That's why it's saying
Yeah,
that they need
right.
fire suppression because people can
So
be
that could
trapped.
be their own rule of that city.
Mhm.
I'm not sure where that says.
So it's at the very top of page 8. John is talking about when he led a tiny home conference 10 years ago. And the fire official from Medford said a system was needed as most tiny homes incorporate lofts, which can obviously be fire traps.
I would agree with that.
I'm not
Because they have
saying
ladders.
that it's not a fire trap. I'm just saying that you can have a loft in anything. It doesn't necessarily mean just a tiny home.
I think,
Mm-hmm.
I think the difference in my mind is the tightly enclosed space and the fact that you're going down a ladder.
And potentially not a window that's too
Okay.
small to
You can't
open.
just run down the stairways and grab the handrail and get the heck out
Well,
of there.
Guy Vernon's new house over by the on Idaho has a loft.
The other thing is
The
that
brand new
Yeah,
if it's a sleeping room in a dwelling, you have to have an accessible window to go out of.
Right.
mm-hmm.
And tiny homes don't.
Right.
Not
If you had a loft and a
necessarily
tiny home, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have.
Yeah, because
you
usually
wouldn't
the
be able to
loft.
get
Well,
out.
wouldn't
Unless
it
the
be
code
cheaper
permits
to
it.
put in,
have ingress, egress in the loft area.
Right.
yeah, I
If you
would
had
think
a-
it'd be
yes, if you
cheaper
had
to
egress
do
in the
that.
loft, you wouldn't need it, I would imagine.
To put in a window.
To put in a window.
Just that there's often not enough space.
Well,
Yeah.
Dome that
it
pops
could
open.
be that they build it with that in mind then, but putting
Well,
in a
it's-
sprinkler system
yeah.
just adds to the price of the
Yeah.
house again.
Well, just, the configuration of a tiny home, especially a tiny home on wheels, it can't be more than, it has to be a certain, width to height ratio, and it can't be, it has like dimension constraints. So usually the loft, to allow enough height in the bottom floor, is not a full floor. And so there's not enough room to open a whole window and get a body out.
So RVs, Class C RVs with a bed over the cab, that's a Class C RV.
Yes.
They have, they're called escapes.
Like a hatch.
Those hatches are pop out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a safety thing and you pop it open, you can climb through and get out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. Put
So
a
you could do that
pop-up
in
on
a
the
Then you
roof.
have to jump off.
Yeah,
Again,
right.
I
No,
just,
that's not
Let's go to
possible.
page 9.
always
Let's go to
thinking,
page 9.
all of these things just
I
add
We're,
know,
up
but it's
costs.
just like there are reasons, like logical reasons, building wise, why it's not possible.
We've got about 45 minutes left and we've got quite a bit here to go. So at the bottom of page 9, construction standards for small homes, which is the term Oregon uses for dwellings under 400 square feet. I'd be interested to know what others think, but I don't believe that sprinklers are required. Oh, there you go. That you're just talking about that. I think that's, okay, the next page. The third paragraph, however, if you're simply talking about a house that can be approved under Oregon's residential specialty code, which includes houses under 400 square feet, then it doesn't matter that you don't have a definition for tiny houses. It's simply a single unit dwelling. The statute says the building permits and zoning permits for a small home shall designate the small home as a single family project. There's no barrier with definitions. If your code doesn't allow multiple dwelling units on a lot in the proposed location, then you'll need to amend your code if the proposal is to proceed. So they're talking about, well, it starts with whether they're impractical or infeasible.
Laura works for DLCD, so she must.
Do we have this Oregon residential specialty code somewhere in our code?
We are bound by it.
Okay.
It's online.
Ah.
It's online. It's just the standard Oregon. It's Oregon Specialty Code based on the Universal Building Code.
Okay.
That's all pretty
Is
much
it
the same.
extensive?
Insulation, door, hallway widths, window openings in bedrooms, smoke detectors, all that stuff that is all in the building code.
Okay.
And we're
Why
bound
is
by-
it called specialty?
It's an Oregon version of it
Hmm.
that maybe doesn't include everything.
Okay.
It's the same thing. It's the UBC and the Oregon Specialty Code, or there could be some special things in it, but it's UBC.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, and on page 11,
I was noticing at the bottom of page
Yes.
10
yes.
that this guy from Klamath Falls.
Oh, right,
says
right.
their aging code says any house or dwelling on wheels is considered a camper. So we don't yet allow tiny homes in the traditional sense. But see, that's what I was thinking. We could allow them like campers if we wanted to.
Well,
I
and
mean,
then-
we're going to have somebody asking to do that and we don't have an answer. You know, we probably would say, well, if it's on wheels, you know, and then,
but then he goes on to say, however, we allow homes of any size as so long as they're attached to the ground and have an excavated and backfilled foundation and meet the minimum requirements of the Klamath County Building Department.
which would be the same as
Tiny
the
home.
state.
Yeah.
Mobile home.
And then he says, we've been told that homes under 400 square feet require a fire suppression system, so we generally recommend people go no smaller than that. And they generally don't want to anyway, given the cost of such a system. And I don't know whether any egress windows all over the place would make any difference with that or not.
We should ask the Stefans. They're building a tiny home right now, and Paul, they decided to go with a company that does tiny home inspections so that it can get some kind of certification to be in an RV park. They're paying a couple $1,000s extra for these special inspections and stuff, so they might be able to provide some insight on things like the
So
spring,
who's
you know,
doing that?
fire suppression. Paul and Bella Stefan, they were at the meeting.
And
They also worked with Guy Vernon on his new house on Idaho.
why did they want it to be in an RV park?
Well, just in case the buyer wants that flexibility, that has to have some special certification. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Well, it bypasses the Oregon building codes. It bypasses the UBC and it goes to the manufactured dwelling
There you
code
go.
probably.
Yeah.
Like we talked about.
Yeah. They just, wanted the new buyer to have that flexibility to have it and have been
Either or?
inspected along the way. Yeah, either or.
In case they wanted to.
Right,
And
in
they're
case they wanted to.
constructing it?
They are.
Ella
They're
and
building it
Paul?
right next to their house.
Okay.
Do you know how many square feet it is?
Not sure. I'm gonna say probably like 200 or less. Yeah, it's got a loft and, has all the things, bathroom, kitchen, little, shelves and drawers and all the nooks and crannies.
So it'll be on wheels.
It is on wheels, yeah. They bought, the trailer alone was like $8,000, I think.
Right.
Yeah, it's really sturdy, reinforced trailer meant to bear the weight. But they do have to keep weight in mind, when they're building. They can't go
And,
beyond a certain
and
weight.
width so that it can.
And width, so that it can
Travel
travel
down
on
the
the road.
It would be interesting to know whether the Curry County Building Department would require sprinklers, or if the fire marshal would require sprinklers in a tiny home less than 400 square feet,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or if they have anything to
I
say.
haven't heard them. I've been going in there throughout the whole construction process, and I haven't heard anything about sprinklers. I
Yeah.
don't think they have piped water into the ceiling, so yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I
I'd say
wonder.
no, but I could ask.
Well, they're bringing this up, and it's not the kind of thing that, it's not the kind of thing that you'd want to have be a surprise
Right.
when you went to get your final inspection.
Exactly. But they're, working with this company, so there's no way that it'll be sprung upon them. I think if it was a requirement, they would have required it. They would have said so from the beginning, hopefully.
But they don't
Yeah.
need a permit to do it. So they may or may not know about this.
Right, maybe. Yeah. I can ask them.
Some of this stuff just is overwhelming to try to figure out how you would navigate it.
It's
Because nobody
convoluted.
answers your phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying nobody does. I've found some really good people that will answer up at state building codes. But these guys around here have too much they're doing out in the field, and I know that's why they don't answer.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I can wait forever, and I'm not going to get an answer.
Yeah.
So kind of what would the difference be? You have a tiny home that's constructed on a
Mhm.
platform. You have an RV that's constructed on a platform, but it's
Right.
different material. But
And made like in a
essentially the-
factory or
Yeah.
something.
But
Mhm.
still, in general, it's the same thing.
And well, tiny homes are framed like a
Stick-built.
house, stick built.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I'm just saying but it's on anyway, maybe we
Yeah.
should go forward, but I'm just thinking, I don't see
I mean, well,
context of.
I guess we'll have to just decide which of these are really important to us,
Yeah.
and then,
Right.
let the rest go.
Yep.
I mean, I
And
think-
we're going to get requests
Yeah.
for
A
some of these things, but we may not have answers.
an RV is recreational vehicles purpose is for recreational
on the road.
living, to be on the road. But the tiny house, I think, can be on the road, but also it's a home. It could be a permanent
Yeah,
home,
I think it's
even though people
more,
live in RVs full time.
I agree. I
Yeah.
think it's meant to be movable,
Yeah.
but not traveling
Yeah.
movable.
Not like a vehicle on the
Not
road.
Not like
recreation.
you're always
Yeah.
towing
I
it.
understand that. I'm just thinking of the RV parks in town. And these
Yeah.
people live there.
And
I-
so
They're
In their
it
RVs.
could
They're allowed
be
now,
in this,
I read
Like
that.
Coast Guard.
Uh-huh.
in the same context.
Could be
Yeah.
in that, yeah.
Okay, on page 11,
Can
I
occupy the
found
same
this whole
space.
page to be really interesting.
Mhm.
In the second paragraph, regarding multiple units on the lot, he said he just got, I drafted and the council passed a change to the code. So building configuration doesn't matter and is only limited by lot coverage and each unit having its own entrance.
I think we should do that.
Thought that was really
It's,
interesting.
they become like cottage
So-
units. And what's wrong with that?
So a dwelling is a place to live. Any one or combined number of dwelling units or residences. A single-family dwelling is a detached building, except manufactured homes, containing one dwelling unit. A duplex or two-family
And
dwelling.
why do they say except manufactured homes? A manufactured.
Because it has its own code. It's not,
Well, I understand, but it's not,
oh yeah, that's a good
I
question.
mean, like in our code, we just say that they're
Single.
all one thing.
Yeah.
Even though we mention them both, like they're two separate things.
At the bottom of this
Yeah, I get
email,
what you're saying.
it states
Wait, it says
manufactured
at the
dwellings are
bottom.
treated similarly,
Mhm.
but the definition refers to the
Oh.
ORS.
Yeah.
Okay, so, good. Thank you.
Where's
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, at the bottom
It's
here,
the bottom.
manufactured dwellings are treated similarly, but the definition refers to the ORS rather than the local code.
Mhm.
And then a duplex or two-family dwelling, any combination of two dwelling units, any combination except manufactured homes, when that's a different definition, with separate entrances, whether attached or detached, on a single lot or multiple lots combined through a deed restriction forbidding the sale of the units or lots separately, except when one dwelling unit is considered an ADU.
So we have had a lot of people wanting to do this kind
Yeah.
of stuff over the years, and we've always told them they had to connect it
Had to
somehow.
connect them, right? In fact, we just did one,
Mhm.
was it 2 years ago, down on the corner of, was it Wyoming and what's that?
Hamlet.
Hamlet. Yeah.
They just tore
And we-
that house down.
They had to, did they? They had to
Completely.
put a piece of wood between the two to,
Make it like a breezeway. or
Attached,
something.
two attachments.
or no,
it's
they
two separate
didn't.
lots. You divided the
We
lots.
divided it so they were separate lots,
Mhm.
and then they tore the little one down.
And they just
But the
tore the whole thing
original,
down.
it
original
was
house.
originally on
One.
two separate lots. And then at some point in time, this is Jan Hodder's.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
And Mike's.
Oh, and Matt K.
Oh.
Mhm.
At some point in time, they combined it and made it one lot with the two separate
Oh,
dwellings.
okay, so this was redo.
So what they decided to do was separate the lots again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Well,
That's what she
anyway,
told me.
that's a
Yeah.
Sorry I even brought it up. But
Well,
it,
it's all interesting.
it is all interesting, actually.
Yeah.
It's got some
So were
history.
the buildings connected at any
No,
point?
no.
No,
They
okay.
were, but their choice was to either connect them and have it be one.
Or divide the lot.
They had a
Goofy.
4x6 or something, 2x6.
It was
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
It was
I
a-
don't know about that. Yeah.
And then a triplex is any combination of 3 dwelling units with separate entrances, whether attached or detached on a single lot or multiple lots, etc. Fourplex, any combination of 4 dwelling units. And an apartment, any combination of 5 or more dwelling units with separate entrances on one property.
So the common thread in all of these is that none of them can be sold separately.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and the common thread also is that I find interesting, they don't have to be touching.
Right.
They can,
Hmm.
so they can.
Yeah. I know. I always thought that a duplex, triplex, fourplex apartment
Shared
always had
walls.
common walls.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
And they do here, well, they don't have to have common walls, they have to be, they'll be connected by a breezeway or something like that. We've talked about that with quite a few clients.
Oh, that's the
okay.
connection. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're connected. They're one
Somehow they're
giant
connected.
building.
Somehow
Yeah.
connected.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as Joseph said, manufactured dwellings are treated similarly, but the definition, it's just a
Right.
definition difference. Okay, page 12. Tiny homes. Currently, our code does not permit people to live in vehicles or connect to utilities, so a tiny house on a chassis would not be permitted.
Hmm.
That's in Prineville, huh?
That's where I used to work.
Hmm.
Milwaukee.
City of Milwaukee.
So if
Yeah.
people are looking for the answers on this,
A lot of people.
a lot of people, and I mean, our building code should follow the needs of the community.
Right.
And the people want these things, and they're good,
Well, if you think about it, someone could
useful.
have a tiny home on a piece of property that was not theirs. It belonged to someone else. And they could live there for some time and have all the amenities. And then the owners of that land could sell it and the owners of the tiny home would have to move it. So, I
It would-
mean, if you think along those lines, it makes sense not to restrict whether it's on wheels or not, or permanent, because it could potentially require someone to move it down the road if
Right.
they're on land that they don't own.
Right. Yeah, whether it's on wheels or not, that seems to be a building department thing about holding it down, the foundation.
Because of
Wind.
weather, yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but
There's a wind load thing, especially
Yeah.
here on the coast.
Yeah. And I know that like modular homes require tie downs.
right. Well, they require
Yeah.
foundations.
Yeah.
That's what,
Or, whatever you want
It's
to call them,
interesting on the
trailers.
bottom of page 13.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Based on the type of building classification, a development would either classify as a multifamily development, manufactured home park, or an RV park. As an individual unit on a lot, we have no size requirements for stick-built. We do so for manufactured RVs. We do for manufactured, and RVs would not be allowed. But
So this is out of date. Well, I mean,
where is this?
RVs aren't allowed, but not allowed by the state. You can disallow RVs, but if you have an RV park, you have to allow people.
Right.
Right. Page 14, I didn't mark anything. Building heights. Let's see. in the second paragraph there, it says, I recall doing some research on this issue a few years ago, came across a town somewhere in Colorado that had amended their code to allow actual tiny homes on regular city lots. I believe that included lots of just about any size, but we don't know if that was residential or whatever. Also came one across one that was rural.
It's like putting a Prius motor in a Hummer.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
So I
thank
don't.
you for bringing all
Well,
that.
yeah, I don't know what we're learning, but it's good to hear what other people are.
This is also, these discussions are from 2021.
Mhm.
Things are changing so
Yeah.
fast that a lot of these questions could be
I
answered
just
or,
hated to ask them all to do it again.
oh yeah, no, it was super
And it would
helpful.
start being all these more questions.
Yeah. I just wonder how, things have evolved since then.
Should we at this point, we have this resolution here.
Yeah, I thought we
From
should
Bandon.
know what Mary Chapman brought us from Bandon. And I think we have this chapter 8 in our municipal code that says you can't live in an RV on your property, but, at long term.
But the one I thought,
I'm going to look.
a couple I thought were interesting in this, under the general guidelines, RVs are not permitted on vacant lots.
Yeah, I like that.
And the other one was property owners may not charge rent, but may ask the RV occupants to contribute toward utilities.
Hmm.
I thought those were very interesting.
I'm going to go to our chapter 8 and see how that applies to this.
All personal items shall be kept in the RV or otherwise screened from view. And they have to be roadworthy.
Know what this is?
Sure.
This is the one that's come up before here. This is, where did it go? Citing permits for recreational vehicle occupation. So we have rules that aren't part of our planning rules.
On occupation of recreation, right.
And I'm thinking this is what Mayor Shamahorn is showing us that they've done.
Oh, right. So we have a temporary,
Yeah,
we have temporary rules,
Right.
14 days.
right.
No longer than 60 days.
And then they added some guidelines for their temporary.
Yeah.
Days?
Let's see.
The city of Bandon?
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's no,
60.
So they're trying to make
get an
this
update.
where,
I can get it.
well, that's interesting. Property owners may not charge a rent. So what are they suggesting? This would be for family members or something?
Yeah.
I
sounds
think
like
it's
it.
for
To
people who,
help somebody out.
I've got my next door neighbor has 2 RVs on their property. People live in there. They don't have anywhere else to go.
And do they follow the Port Orford code? Probably not, right?
And there's stuff spread everywhere.
Says recreational vehicle
Talking about
which
the
are
house
used
on the
in place
corner.
of habitation for more than 14 days within a calendar year must have a citing permit.
Right.
No recreational vehicle may be issued a citing permit unless the recreational vehicle is located on improved real property, is properly registered in accordance with the state of Oregon, and the citing permit fee has been paid. No person may use a recreational vehicle as a place of habitation for more than 30 days from the date an initial citing permit is issued.
Yeah. I think there's a renewal.
So I think one of the things that comes to my mind about this process is if it's temporary, if it's granted and temporary, who enforces this? How is it?
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
is the
like
city
like he's
keeping
saying,
track
they
of this?
probably aren't, but.
I don't think the city is in agreement on how the enforcement should be handled. That was what that
City
was.
doesn't have a mechanism yet.
Yeah, that's what I was
Really.
hearing at the,
Real.
when we had the candidates forum for the city administrator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's interesting.
You were hearing what?
that there is really no consensus on who's supposed to be responsible for enforcement.
So it's one of those cases here probably where if you ask, you can't do it, and if you don't ask, you can.
Right. Well, that's what's happening here. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was wondering.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So-
Joseph has a comment.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
so it would probably be on the city to enforce this, but we're a complaint-driven system, so until someone complained that, hey, my neighbor has people living in an RV on their lot, like, we wouldn't know.
Right. But I know that there have been multiple complaints about the crab yard, for example, and it's come up multiple times at multiple city council meetings, and it is still a thing.
Nothing gets done.
Nothing happens, and
And they're in the right of way.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me. They've got boats in the right of way and
Yeah,
cars and
mess.
trailers, and yet
Mess.
the right of way, the police can intervene on that. They can give them tickets and.
Who
Yeah, so-
issues like a red tag? Is that county or does the city do that?
I believe it would be city, and we are looking into it, but it's a Pandora's box type situation.
Yeah.
So let's try and get back on to.
Okay, so I want to,
What the actual purpose of why we're here today.
Tell us more, Joseph.
Thank you,
It does come into play.
thank you, Assistant Planning Technician Harrison, to get us back on track. That's just exactly what we needed, because I was about to
Sorry, Joseph.
suggest and to ask ask Crystal, is this a good time for us to kind of weigh in on our, like, maybe our favorite
Yes.
thing, what we think we can, given the money we've got and the time we have to do this, we're not going to get a lot of stuff done, but we
Right.
can do some specific things. And I'd like to hear from each of you, what one thing or maybe two things, but just boil it down to what we can do.
Yeah.
What do you think we can do?
you're
And I'm
talking
not
about-
talking about exploratory stuff.
You're
or-
talking about in terms of the code, right? In terms of,
in terms of
amending the
And I will
code.
start.
okay,
I believe we need an ADU policy.
yeah,
Definitely.
yep.
So I'm going to write that down, and we're just going to make a note of these things, because, I mean, we're citizens, we don't know everything, but we are here, and we've heard a lot. So we're getting exposed to a lot of things, and
Yeah.
I think it's time for us to kind of weigh in just a little bit, not necessarily how we're going to do it, but we kind of have an idea how difficult things are going to be.
Yeah,
I think ADUs are pretty straightforward, and I think
I think
a
so,
lot
yeah.
of people would like that. So
I think
Commissioner
we
Burke?
need to provide the city with some very clear definitions of various sizes of houses and how we consider them to be classified, if you will.
so
okay.
we can differentiate
Mhm.
between, yeah.
Right.
So clear definitions of the sizes of houses and how they're
How they're classified.
classified. Okay, thank you.
How they're classified where?
Whether it's like state or county,
In other words, who approves?
pardon me,
Who approves them?
and who approves them.
Or
Yes.
how they're defined by the different
How they're
entities,
defined.
yeah.
So that anyone could go and look that up if they are planning to build a specific
Yeah.
home.
Know where to go, what to look for, where.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Lovendall.
I'm all for the ADUs because they can't, I think provides affordable housing and it can't be sold over and over again and expand the value. So it makes it more affordable. But I also like us to look at zones, what we can do to maximize or what, by zone, look at the zones.
Oh, can you be more specific?
Well, perhaps we do something different in commercial, like we do now, as opposed to residential. I mean,
You mean with lot sizes
with lot
or?
sizes
Yeah,
and density,
So lot size zoning,
light size, lot
for
size. Yeah.
density lot size zoning?
Right.
That would only be in residential, right? Because we don't have any
And
requirements.
it's in,
but I think what
I mean,
Sarah's,
people could be doing these things on the small lots.
I think what you're saying is that one solution, we don't have to have a one size fits all solution for all the zones.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Not one size fits all, yeah.
Zoning flexibility.
We
Okay.
have the flexibility. We're probably the only ones in the state that actually already have it. Because we have commercial zones where they don't have to have a lot of setbacks. They don't have to have a
Parking.
certain size.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to have parking. I mean, I think when I see what all the cities are saying they're having to develop, some of that we already have. I mean, I'm not saying we have perfection, but
Right.
and we do kind of have a really loose thing that allows all
Yeah.
sorts of residences in.
Yeah. You would look at
Yeah.
a cluster, maybe cluster home, which is
In the commercial zone.
in a commercial zone. Maybe it's a little different in a,
Right.
Yes.
It's a little tighter in what they can do up in a residential
Right.
zone. And that's probably
okay.
appropriate because
Mhm.
people have come into the commercial for years and we haven't had any problems.
Right.
Commissioner
Okay.
Head.
Yeah, I think we should, I agree about ADUs. I think we should look at removing the minimum structure size, square footage requirement. I don't know if tiny homes not on wheels qualifies as an ADU, but I think we should definitely look more into tiny homes and how they can be, legal within the city limits. And I know this might sound weird, but I think we should really look into legal composting toilets, options for not hooking up to city sewer, and maybe gray water. I don't know if we can
don't know if
we can go there
I don't think we can go there.
because county.
It might be difficult to,
Yeah, I know gray water, but composting toilets would be easier than gray water because of DEQ. Gray water is a DEQ issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's our territory.
I think that, if we are going to explore putting multiple dwellings on sites where there's already houses, it's just going to be cost prohibitive if the ADUs or the tiny homes are required to hook up to city sewer and water.
Yep.
Allow them to hook up to.
Yeah, either to the
dwelling
house
that's
or, find alternative ways, maybe hook up to the sewer for the water and have a legal composting toilet, in the ADU or in the tiny home, which those are really common in tiny homes and.
We could make a recommendation, but we wouldn't be able to put that in code
Mm.
ourselves. We could make a recommendation to
Yeah.
the city hall about the SDU fees, SDC
Mhm.
fees.
Yeah,
But I'm talking about what we would run through the planning, through the
city council.
the hearing
Yeah.
process.
yeah.
right,
That's where our money is we have the grant
Right.
for that hearing.
well, I think, I think we should consider things that make building more affordable. And what I'm hearing from builders is that the cost of building materials is so high. The new house that Guy and Bella and Paul built is, 500 something square feet. I think that includes the loft. And, and 350,000 is what it's listed for, so that's, even if we're going to do an ADU could be a 500 square foot home, but, we have to look at ways to make things affordable, and we can't control the cost of building materials or the cost of, all the inspections or any of that, but there are some things that we might be able to control.
And that's what
Well, I
that's
think we
the-
should control all of them. We should recommend that we adopt all the ones we can. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
The ones that we can't, let's not
Mm-hmm.
let's not go there.
But
Because
it's not even clear to me what we can and what we can't. You know what I mean?
how about, would you care to do research into composting toilets?
Sure.
Whose
I'm sure Portland, I'll
whose
start with
jurisdiction
Portland.
that is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where the codes are for that, and how those codes get changed. And then we have something to,
Something to go on. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, then we don't all spend time thinking about it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It'd be wonderful. Commissioner Lawton.
My interest is in figuring out the difference between homes on wheels and not on wheels, and maybe that falls under the clear definition of how houses are classified. But we seem to be discussing what if it's on wheels, or what if it's not on wheels, and where can that wheeled one be, and where can it be? So I think there's some clarity that needs to happen with that, and it probably falls into the definitions of housing that we're looking for as well. But the other one would be cluster housing that I would like to focus on.
I might be able to take that specific request about Homes on Wheels and see if any of these people in the last 3 years, or how many years it's been, I think 3,
Mhm.
since they wrote these things, have come up with tiny home policies.
Mhm.
That would be a start, because I would like to see what they've done.
Yeah.
I would like to
If
see
they've
a something in our code about tiny homes, and really a tiny home section.
Mm-hmm.
If we, if that's out there, maybe it's not getting done because it's just so hard. Nobody's doing it because it's like breaking the system to even
Yeah.
try to
Mm-hmm.
put it all together. Nobody's doing it. And if that's the case, we're probably not going to get it done. I mean,
Right.
I think we're going to have to cut and paste, kind of.
Yeah. But somebody's already done some of this. Like, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
We're going to reinvent the wheel. When we don't even have a lawyer. So
Right.
at this
And
point,
there's such a gray area between travel trailers, living in travel trailers, and even motorhomes and tiny homes. I mean, they're all on wheels at some point. They're all small for the most part. So we're talking about maybe even allowing a trailer on a residential property. So how is that different than having a tiny home on residential property?
Or an RV for
or
that
an
matter.
RV, yeah. So
question.
it's these
Well, that-
things on wheels.
That's the whole thing that's
Just-
so hard, because the state has certain things that they've already allowed
Mhm.
under certain circumstances, but they haven't come forth that I've seen anything about tiny homes on wheels or anything. It's like you have to do your own.
Maybe it's treated like an RV.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Well, that would
because an
be
RV
DMV,
has some
right?
kind of a national.
Yeah.
Right.
But then, in the banding code, no RV or presumably any structure on wheels shall connect to the city's sanitary sewer system, without permission from Public Works, but
Right.
yeah.
Is that distinction between wheels and on wheels something, are you good at looking things up?
Let's see, my assignment was on condos.
Oh,
That was
Well-
my
Do you wanna take-
assignment.
do you wanna take that?
But
okay. So
I'm finishing
so
up
just
my last
just
one.
looking at the big picture, I think we're going to get more traction on tiny homes than we are on condos. I think as far as what's good for this, what's
So-
useful for the
so
city.
Greg, you're telling me to switch my homework from condos to.
I'm
gonna
asking
send
you
you
if
the
you would
condo
like to, that I think it would be, you could help us more with
Looking into
the
that.
tiny homes than with the condos. Because,
Okay.
condos, it's certainly interesting.
Tiny homes or things on wheels.
Or things on wheels.
Yeah,
How,
it just,
what's the difference and what are the codes and do
yeah.
you need sprinklers? All, that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is all nuts and bolts stuff that we, somebody's dealing with that stuff.
Right.
I would share that the state building codes has been really good about having someone there that will talk to you about these things.
And a lot of that stuff is online. And if you look at, so you were, this is before you were on our commission. When we did short-term rentals, I went and looked at all the municipal codes up and down the coast and at their short-term rental ordinances. And I made notes on them all and I made presentations and stuff. A lot of that stuff is online. And a lot of times it's on the front page of the city's city hall, their planning section, or
The individual cities
in the
website.
individual city website, and they have these little,
You can take some of the ones that have said they are working on it here
true,
and
true.
see if there's anything on their website
Mm-hmm.
that says that they
Yeah.
have it.
Because they do that. In fact, I've already been thinking about, helping write some pages for our short-term rental stuff. I'm going to be giving you some suggested text for our,
For the website.
and so as soon as the cities adopt this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they put it out on their webpage. The cities that are with it do.
Right.
Would
people-
LOC be a good resource?
I'm sorry?
Would LOC be a good resource for this?
League of Oregon City.
League of Cities.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
League of Oregon
Probably.
Cities,
It
yeah,
might be.
yeah.
Could be.
Are you aware of that?
LOC, no.
LOC, League of
Oregon
Oregon Cities.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I am on their email list. So I receive a lot of information that is very helpful
Mhm.
on,
I wonder if Port
and they have people that you can speak with.
Port Orford belongs.
So
That might
you
be
not
might
cost money.
check in with
So
them.
League of Oregon
Yeah.
Cities, right.
LOC. Yeah. I have a question. If, say we put a tiny home on a lot, we decrease the allowable, square footage. Could the tiny home have another tiny home as an ADU? Why not, right?
But you
Well-
want the tiny, you want one to be, that, I mean, you're probably going
One
to.
is the
set it up
primary
where you
dwelling.
have a primary
You have to have
home
a
and a
primary.
tiny, and a,
One's the primary, so if the tiny home could be a primary dwelling.
but then you may have to make the other one smaller. I mean, sometimes you have to say.
Well, I think we
no
should.
more than 50% this.
Oh, I think,
It's like a mother-in-law
yeah.
unit. The rule of thumb used to be
Well,
half.
but why
So-
not? I mean, why have the restriction on, why have to shrink the footprint of the,
Some do and some don't. And I
Yeah.
think that's the power of the
Yeah.
last one we just read, where it says they don't have to be connected. So
right,
you could have
Yeah.
you could have a duplex.
right?
Yeah.
It could be a tiny
They're
house
just not
duplex
connected.
or a triplex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like
Right.
that. So I think, so I want to have that be a suggestion too.
Yeah.
That we
Why not?
we don't require a duplex to be,
Connected.
Connected.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They just have to have separate entrances.
Yep.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So duplex not connected.
And that would also go for a triplex.
Triplex, yeah. Duplex, et cetera.
Tiny houses, yeah.
Multifamily housing not connected.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. Duplex, et cetera. So duplex, triplex, apartments.
Right.
yeah.
Not that anybody's going to want to do it, but they might.
But then it could look different depending on the situation, but it could be one owner owns the land and rents out, multiple tiny homes, or it could be that, if I'm the landowner and I own the primary tiny home, then I rent out the second one, so it's like, there's flexibility.
I thought it was really interesting. One of the speakers at the open house or the workshop talked about tribal land, how in his tribe, evidently they have a piece of property, I don't know, maybe more than one,
It's the
And-
reservation.
on the reservation.
Yeah.
And the reservation owns it, and then the homes are owned by the people.
But they already have a government that's taking care of the roads and the common areas.
Right.
So it's subsidized.
But I liked the
They're
idea.
Yeah.
sovereign.
I like the idea.
They're not guided by the same
Yeah.
codes
Right.
that we have.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so I would like to work on the definitions because I brought that up
Oh,
earlier.
excellent. Would you? Thank
Okay.
you.
And
Thank you.
in the grand scheme of things, because part of this is this whole discussion is about um, making homes more affordable
Mhm.
for people. I think we need to define what affordable housing is based on our demographics. It doesn't necessarily pertain to another area. I
Right.
think we need to focus on our communities here.
Right. So did you see this House Bill 2984? We didn't actually do this one.
Yeah, I didn't read
But
through it.
yeah, so you should look at it.
Okay.
It defines affordable housing,
The
rent
area
to families
median
with income
income.
less than 80% or less of the area median income, average of all units in a properties,
Yeah.
families with incomes of
And if
60%
you're,
or less. There's
if you
various
want
details.
HUD funds for affordable housing, which we may down the road, we would have to follow these guidelines, the federal guidelines for that, HUD's guidelines. And the other thing is this 30 years that they talk about, developers can get special incentives if they, usually it's reserving certain units for affordable housing.
Yeah.
And in the past, it's been like 20 years, but what I think I've seen 30 years here now, what they found in the past is that, boy, that goes by really fast. And then they kick everybody out and they put it at market rates. So there's a hazard with that type of housing, but it's still a possibility. But you still have to go by HUD income guidelines to get all these kinds of funds.
Okay, so we have 8 minutes left. And Crystal, are we,
Well,
I want
wanted
you to weigh in.
clarify- I wanted to clarify
Yeah.
whether you are going to look up our demographic. Was that something you were
Yeah,
going to do? Because you know where to get that probably.
If
Tower
you have a
and-
suggestion.
Well, I get one every month that talks about that, and they will do research for you,
Okay.
or they probably already have it, and it's Oregon
7.
Employment. It comes out from the Oregon Employment Division.
Hmm.
And there's a regional, you can look at the map there, and it has who serves our region. Guy Tower is one of them, and there's another one that I think Fields or something that does the actual reports. And you can just ask the question and they will send you. And if we're, connected with, we're not in a metropolitan service, we're not in a metropolitan area for the census, so they have to do that. They may have to do that themselves.
So is this like the Department of Labor and Industries?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would the League of Oregon
Well,
Cities
it's
have that
the,
information
I
as
don't know
well?
if it's the Department of Labor and Industries. I can send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be helpful.
And then I also wanted to ask Crystal I mean, obviously you have the biggest view of all of us. And I'm sure you're going to proceed with what you feel is
Well,
important.
yeah, and I do have, I have a lot of definitions and stuff that I did look up last year.
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
it was now
2 years ago.
2022.
3 years ago.
Mhm.
So,
But most of them haven't changed unless we already know that there's a bunch of this housing stuff. It
so
is
do you have,
changing.
so we've all given some priorities. Do you have a priority that you feel is? or-
I just need to start looking at what I have and
Okay,
see how some of these things work into it.
okay, great.
And anything anybody brings
No,
will
I'm
be
looking
helpful.
up, I'm gonna do
Okay, good.
reattachment, composting
Well, I
toilet,
appreciate you all for,
and gray water.
Because just putting it together takes a lot of time.
oh gosh, I
And
can't imagine.
so anything anybody does is not going to insult me or mess me up because I have to look at all that stuff anyway.
So can I ask if you come up with stuff, if you can make a reference to where it is in the codes?
Yeah.
So that Crystal can just go there.
Mm-hmm.
Go, this is
Like
it.
the state or the county code, for
And feel
example.
Yeah.
free
Mm-hmm.
to send it to me if you have it. And then you can also bring it up at the next
bring it up at these
It's not
meetings,
like,
yes.
I'm just gonna take it and it's gonna become mine. It's
Mhm.
that I would want you to explain.
And track your time, right, for the,
Excellent. Well, thank you again.
And
Are
do
we
we
gonna-
want
because
to
it's like an in-kind donation.
get all of this information to you three before the next?
Well, I mean,
Planning
and if
meeting?
you can, yeah, if you find something that you think is useful.
Mhm.
If
Okay.
you don't understand it, then don't pass it on because we probably don't understand it either, but yeah. Or we would have to look it up and that's fine. Or if you have a question that you want me to look up and see if I see the same thing as you, that's fine. I mean, it's okay to talk with each other. And this is not such secretive stuff as, I mean, if somebody else sees it, it's not like we're on an application or anything. This is a legislative change, so it's okay to.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to move on to number 6, discussion items. Planning clearances approved since last meeting.
So last time I already brought up the 1940 Oregon. I wanted to talk more about it, but we're a little strapped for time.
It's
So,
okay, go ahead, it's important.
so the issue with 1940 is that originally there was a hotel on it, and the hotel was actually 1940. Well, it was 1840 Oregon, which is the lot that currently is 1840 Oregon, Mr. Ed's, and now the lot that is also now 1940 Oregon. And there's confusion about the water and sewer. I brought this up last time, so I just want to reiterate to the council or the commissioners in case you hear stuff or see stuff on Facebook. The lot that is 1940 Oregon does not have water sewer hookups at this time, even though there appears to be the infrastructure for it on the lot. It didn't get tracked to that lot. It went to the 1840 Oregon.
Which is Mr. Ed's.
It's the lot south of Mr. Ed's.
A lot south of Mr. Ed's. Okay.
Where does Mr. Ed's water come from?
They got their stuff
Oh,
for
it's
the curtailment.
empty lot.
It's the
I
empty
mean-
lot.
Oh, I
Yes.
think that's Jude's lot, yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
This
no, I
has
understand.
been on Facebook. In
What?
fact, there was a history
Yeah,
where it showed the,
hotel.
that was a cool looking hotel at one
Yep.
point.
I just wanted to bring it up in case you hear people grumbling about it. We've had some people coming into the office to grumble about it, and I wanted you guys to be aware ahead of time.
Okay.
Then the other two, the 455 11th and the 3567 7th Street, those are just single family dwellings. Just letting you know that we have 2 new houses that are going,
homes.
new
Good.
homes going in. And then that's the planning clearances since last time.
And did they get they're putting in wells?
Yes.
And they're paying-
One of them's a well, one of them had pre-existing from prior, before the curtailment went in.
They'd already paid their fees
Mhm.
like 20 years ago, and now they get.
I
know,
believe
I-
there was a home on one of the lots, something happened to the home, and now they're rebuilding it.
All right,
On 11?
process review and or modification of existing conditions permits. Does anybody have anything that they want to say on this, or can we hold this over?
Let's hold this over.
Yeah.
It will be.
Can I ask what happened to formerly known as Pacific Gales? I thought their conditional use permit we extended it
We
for a
haven't heard
year.
from them for a while, so
Yeah, so
it's
it's,
just
They're
hanging.
being very mum.
It's hanging.
okay.
Hanging.
Yeah, expired. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to
it was
hold that
after a
over.
year.
Did anybody have any?
It's expired by a month,
Mhm.
but they already had a request in.
When?
In January, but I didn't realize it was a request. It came from an attorney in attorney language and it was kind of tricky. I thought that we were doing something else and.
Is that the one you
that's-
showed me?
So do we have to be on
I
that?
don't know, huh?
Then we
There,
have to-
eventually we will have to act on it.
Because we either say yay or nay.
Yes.
Well, let's leave that for another meeting.
Okay, well, Greg,
It'll probably be July before it comes to you.
okay, but I think that we should keep talking about it, but maybe we should table it, the conditional use permit
Mhm.
Until next
item.
time,
Yeah, till next time,
'cause I want
because
to.
it's a thing that we need to address.
Did anyone have any draft changes for the dark sky brochure? So if you do, send them to me.
Okay,
Just send them to me. And I'll get them to our expert. Other business, a potential new date and time. I suggested that we move to a later date. I've since talked to Crystal. She would like it to not move too late because it's difficult for her to drive to,
In the winter.
and I want to take care of Crystal here while we're doing this really important work.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think, Crystal?
Well, I was hoping that maybe, because only in a few months it's going to start going into darker again. And that's actually when we're going to be doing our code changes, the public hearings, the public, just all the stuff that goes into a final thing. And we also don't want to be changing around. I realize that you guys don't want to be coming in the middle of the day. So if there's any way to change it to like 4:30 or 4, and then at least I don't have to drive the whole way both ways at night. Usually I can find a place to stay in Bandon, but on the way home.
Yeah,
But I don't like to start out in the dark for an hour drive to a meeting.
especially bad weather.
Yeah, storms and stuff.
Commissioner
Well,
Lovendall?
we could have summer hours, winter hours. There's nothing that says we
Yeah,
can't
why
do
not?
that. I mean,
Mhm.
do that in the stores.
And that would be fine with
It'll
me.
be,
So,
you know,
because I certainly understand you not want it starting out in the dark.
It wasn't even good when I was younger, you know, it was like, the mayor and his wife told me that I could stay there anytime, which I felt kind of bad. I never did, but one time I did because I had car trouble. That was the only time.
yeah, I'm all for summer hour, winter hours, because it'll be what, like August before it starts
Or
getting,
September.
yeah,
Yeah.
September
Early.
before it starts.
That's
Or even
reasonable.
October,
I think
yeah.
we could, if
Mhm.
we put the notice out that that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
the Notice, so would
5:30?
5:30 be okay for a few months?
Summer- Yeah,
Well, I won't be able to make the meeting. Tuesdays is training, firehouse training, from 6:30 to 8:30. So I wouldn't get out in time for the training.
But if we,
Every week?
Yeah.
You can't miss one a week, one
What if
one a
we
month?
did it on Wednesdays?
Wednesdays doesn't work for me.
Okay.
Wednesday's not a good.
Second Thursday?
Were we talking about keeping it the first week of the month?
That's what it's
Yeah.
been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd prefer that.
I like that.
Yeah, okay.
Is there any way you could miss the first hour of your training once a month?
So we're talking about moving it to 4:30 or?
5:30.
If we moved it to
5:30.
5:30, you'd miss 1 hour of your training.
Yeah, because a lot of times we'll go, for instance, to Pacific High School where Langlois and Port Orford and Sixes, we all do training together. So I would have to get up there. A lot of times we go out in the field right away to do training. So it's not necessarily there. The other thing is, I miss and will miss training for other reasons too, because I go on a trip or there's other reasons, but you know, that's the way it is.
Joseph?
What about the first Monday of each month? At 5:30?
And there's no conflict with other people using this space?
Monday would work for me.
I have karate on Mondays, but I'm willing to miss because
Once.
meeting in the middle of my workday is
so
really
we're doing
difficult.
this to get later in the day. Is that
Yes.
what we're doing?
That works okay for you, Crystal?
It does in the summer. I'm not objecting to the time. I'm just objecting to the storms and
The
the
winter.
rain.
Yeah.
and the
We
wind.
want to take care of you.
Well, if we could all meet on Monday at 5:30, we may be able to bring another member on board too,
Mm-hmm.
which we definitely need.
I do think it's good to try to accommodate your public.
Yeah, and the public.
It's a real thing,
Yeah.
trying to do this while
Yeah, I
you're a
agree.
working person, you know?
So let's, see, this is,
Do. We'll look at the calendar for you, honey.
so like through September?
Okay.
Through September.
We could just,
Last
Keep it
5:30 meeting in early,
yeah.
Or
and
just
then
for
switch
now?
back in
For now, and
October.
then switch back when it starts getting to winter hours again.
Let's switch back when we need to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think it's good to kind of plan. I assume by October it's going to be, I mean, I remember the kids
yeah, October,
coming around to Halloween and it's 5:30 and it's already starting to kind of get dark.
that's too late.
Mhm.
No, I would say September
Mm-hmm.
or,
Yeah,
yeah.
last one in September.
If we keep it a little open, then we can sort of just see how, when it's getting darker earlier, and then know that that's when we need to make the next meeting early.
Do we have to put out a public notice when we're changing? Like, do we have to give people
I,
any certain amount of lead time when
I-
we're changing the meeting?
we'll put it on the website either way, but I don't believe we need to, because each of the agendas already has the date and time that we are meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and the minutes, and it's on the city calendar on the website.
I just have one. I hate to be a stickler, but everybody else said something. I have my board meeting for KAS and I have to go on the 3rd, but you can meet without.
That's just one time though.
On the what?
But yeah, it's every other month, but we have we're,
Kalmiopsis.
it's Kalmiopsis. I'm on their treasurer and we have a big meeting on that day. Cause we meet on the Mondays every other month.
So you'd miss one every other month?
That wouldn't be good.
No, that wouldn't be
Yeah.
good.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it wasn't this particular
Hey,
one,
we're
I
all
wouldn't need it.
sorry when we have to say it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Maybe we could
understand.
just meet on the second Monday for June.
It sounds complicated.
Is that too complicated? Okay.
Same day each month would work
What if we
better.
work on, met on the second
Yeah.
Monday of every month?
Or if we're doing that second Thursday,
Yeah.
might be better, because
I think
then
it got
that's,
changed.
no, Thursdays, okay.
We had this second Monday at one time anyway.
Second Monday.
Yeah, if
So
we just
second Monday?
get second
Yeah,
Monday.
I would still have to miss karate during, but I'm willing to do that, and so I can be here.
Thank you.
You know, if we had more emergency responders,
Mhm.
it would be easier for me to skip.
Yeah.
But there've been times where I've been the only one to respond to medical call out. And it's a sad situation for the city
Yeah.
that we're really lacking emergency responders, firefighters. I would gladly give it up if I knew there were plenty of people there, but there's not.
I wish we had more housing for people to live in so they could have more, we could have more.
Right.
opportunity.
So we're talking
we're
about the
talking
second Monday,
Monday?
starting next month.
Mhm.
Which
So for the next few months,
Which
until
would
further
be-
notice,
So it'd be the second Monday.
second Monday of every month, planning commission meeting,
Mhm.
second Monday.
5:30.
Yes.
So that
So
would probably
in
be
June
through
That'd be
September.
June 10th at 5:30.
September?
June through September.
Through September.
10th.
So through September.
Okay.
So do we need a motion on that or should we just do it?
Let's do a motion.
Let's do a motion. Anybody got to want to make a motion? Yes, Commissioner Lovendall.
I move we change our meeting date and time to the second Monday at 5:30 of every month until, let's just leave it at that.
Is there a second?
Through
A second.
through September.
So it's been moved and seconded that we have our meetings Monday of the month at 5:30 until September,
Mm-hmm.
Through, until September or through September?
through September,
Through September.
through September, through September.
All right.
Thank you.
Is that as close as we can come to making us all happy?
Commissioner Burns.
Close as it gets.
Vote.
Yes.
Commissioner Lovendall,
Yes.
Commissioner Head,
Yeah.
Commissioner Head.
Lawton,
Did I
yes.
say head?
Yeah, you did.
Once,
Two
twice?
heads.
Two heads. Two heads are better than one.
Mhm.
Commissioner Lawton.
Yes.
So the motion has carried. Okay. City planner comments.
I just wanted to say I'm going to be out of the country from May 21st till June 7th,
Oh, I didn't see anything, but Joseph was
going on a trip to Italy with my
Oh, nice.
family.
Oh, lovely.
Bueno.
And
Hey, how's it going?
so
How long
I
are you
won't
going to
be
be gone?
uh, May 21st to June 7th.
Where are you going? Sorry, I missed it.
We're going to Lucca, Italy, which is close to Florence.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Venza.
I've never been to Europe before.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
My son is doing the hard part, which is the planning.
Putting it
And
all
my
together.
brother has done the other hard part, which is to rent a villa and invite his sister and brothers.
Oh, wow.
Oh, fun.
So
Awesome. So we will see you though next month.
Yeah, on the 10th.
you
So,
will,
city
oh,
planner.
you mean
comment.
right when I get home?
Monday.
That's your only comment?
Well, is that
Not-
when,
that's not
what
enough.
it's gonna
You
be?
couldn't have been there on June 3rd anyway.
Right.
No, you're leaving on.
Well, I
oh,
don't
no,
know.
You are meeting
I
on
wasn't
May 20th.
planning to,
Months, but I'm gonna do my best.
I may not come because if I don't have anything to show, and it's starting to look that way.
Okay, well, if.
I wasn't planning to go in June and to be here in June, and so I wrote the grant to include a certain amount of time, and
Okay.
June was supposed to be a blank.
Well, you can take the night off.
I could.
Planning commission comments.
I have a comment, and that is that I will be gone on June 10th. I'll be traveling.
Where are
So
you gonna
I
be?
won't be. I'm going to New Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Other comments? I would like to thank you all for your attention to this. This is not easy, and y'all are sticking right in there. That's great. Thanks. Okay.
When the hard stuff starts. I mean, this is easy bringing all the information.
Is there anyone online that wants to speak?
No one online.
Then I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
Meeting adjourned at 5:42.
5:42.
Thank you.
Thank you.